So today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic, which is not ready for parenthood. Preserve your fertility today for tomorrow's possibilities. So it basically encompasses understanding the biological clock in females and the impact that it has. So just to make it a little interactive, just wanted to know at what age do you think a woman's fertility starts declining? Is it in her 20s, 30s, 35 or 40? Because this answer is going to help us start a very important conversation. So it's important that we understand that when a female is born, has a fixed number, 40 years. So one answer I got was 40 years. So let's try to understand. So once a girl child is born, she has around 1 million oocytes. By the time she reaches puberty, she has perhaps 3.5 to 4 lakh of these oocytes remaining with her. At the age of 30 or 32, that is when majority of the females nowadays are getting married, she perhaps has just 12% of the eggs remaining. And at the age of 40, that is when one of the participants said her fertility starts declining. It's important to know that she has just 3% of the egg reserve with which she started. Now, very interesting to note that the egg numbers continue to decline as a woman ages, but this decline becomes very, very rapid once she reaches the age of, say, 32 or 35 years. And that is the age at which majority of females today are planning to start conceiving. Also, another very interesting concept is that though we are aping towards a Western society, but we need to be mindful of the ethnic differences that Indian women have compared to our Western counterparts. And now studies have shown that ovaries of Indian women, in fact, age 6 years faster than the Caucasians. However, nobody talks about the fertility clock. Well, we understand that women now are perhaps living in a different generation from that of our moms or our grandmothers. Career, relationship, finances, and delayed parenthood are now, one of the very important topics that we deal. And what biology says versus what our society expects is something that we need to be mindful of. Biology has its own timeline and the fertility clock keeps ticking. And so the best time to plan your future is actually to do it before you need that planning. Now, we've talked about changing social dynamics, where women are now becoming more career-oriented, giving more preference to their educational pursuits. We are all there in a corporate world, wherein you have long working hours, frequent traveling, a lot of stress, which is going to compound these challenges. Also, bringing up children has become difficult because we are moving slowly from joint families towards nuclear families. And so starting a family has actually taken a back seat. Women are not ready to tie the knot, or if they have, they are not ready to start their family, something known as voluntary infertility. And the reasons for delay in embracing motherhood could be perhaps because they want to reach a peak in their professional careers, they want to be financially independent, and many these days have not found the right partner, and they do not want to, just marry anybody, perhaps like their mothers or grandmothers did. And very interestingly, when we talk about Indian women, a study which was done in India stated that around more than 50% of women between the age of 30 to 35 years perhaps have a low ovarian reserve. And nowadays we are seeing a lot of young women having a decrease in their ovarian reserve. Well, one of the important reasons is genetic predisposition or ethnicity that I've talked about. Other reasons could be environmental factors and a lot of exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals. Now, exposure to air pollution, which is much more rampant in Tier 1 cities, is known to affect our ovarian reserve. Then there is evidence of microplastics in our ovarian follicular fluid, which in turn is also going to affect our ovarian reserve. And we know that we are using plastics day in and day out. The food that we eat in our tiffin boxes, our plastic bottles, they all somehow have microplastics that are going to percolate into our, finally into our reproductive system and affect our ovarian reserve. Also, this trend of having the ultra-processed food, the burgers, the sandwiches, the donuts, the chips, anything that is packaged, all are considered, in fact, to be class 1 carcinogens and have a huge, huge impact on our ovarian reserve. In fact, we had a FIGO committee opinion just last year that stated that a combination of air pollution, exposure to endocrine disrupting chemicals, and microplastics could play a havoc with our fertility. Now, Indra Nooyi, I think we all know her. She's the famous ex-CEO of PepsiCo, had stated that women cannot have it all because their biological and career clock are in complete conflict and are running in the opposite direction. Now, what is this biological clock that she was referring to? Well, it is important for us to understand that all women have a fixed number of eggs with which they are born, that is their ovarian reserve or the oocyte quantity. And this quantity is going to decline as the woman is going to age. There's going to be a decrease in both the egg numbers and the quality. And this is important to us because if there is a deterioration in the egg numbers and egg quality, then via various mechanisms, it is going to cause an increase in these women facing fertility issues, having an increased risk of abortions, and also perhaps giving birth to babies who could be genetically abnormal. But is it possible for you to check your fertility, to have an understanding as to where you stand, and is your fertility normal? Well, it's important here to understand that age is considered to be one of the best markers for predicting our egg quality. But when we talk about egg quantity, we could use various biomarkers like AMH or antral follicle count. And that is something known as ovarian reserve markers. Now, AMH, I think all of us have heard this term, especially the ones working in the medical field. It is basically a molecule which is going to mimic our primordial follicular pool, or it is going to fall when our egg numbers fall down, and so is considered to be a very, very reliable marker in predicting our ovarian reserve. And the rate of fall of AMH could be as high as 5.6% per year after a woman reaches the age of 25. But yes, when we are using AMH to predict our ovarian reserve, it is very important that we be mindful of the assays that we have. Nowadays, we have all moved towards automated AMH assays, which have made AMH a very, very predictable, marker of assessing our ovarian reserve. Now, many a times, we have patients who state that their AMH value was, say, 1.82 years back, and now it is, say, 3 nanograms per ml. What is important here is to understand that AMH value can never increase. It is just perhaps a different assay that was used prior, and now we are working on a different assay, or perhaps the units could be different. For example, when we have patients from the Western countries coming in, their AMH values are measured in a unit of picomoles per liter, while in India we measure it with nanograms per ml, and so we need to divide it by a factor of 7 to get the exact value. But a very, very important point that I'd like to put in here is that if you have a low AMH, it does not mean that you cannot conceive naturally. We have, women who've been married for just 2 or 3 months, and they have an AMH report which says that it is low, and they come crying to our OPD saying that they cannot conceive. So it is important to understand that a low AMH does not mean that you cannot conceive, but what it means is perhaps that you have a lower time window in which you must get pregnant. Ovarian AMH values or ovarian reserve is only of importance when we talk about, IVF cycles, wherein we need to assess our ovarian response, and the number of oocytes that we get. The higher the number of oocytes that we get, the higher is the probability of women conceiving in an IVF cycle. And also the oocyte quality is important because the quality is going to deteriorate as the woman ages. And the number of oocytes that we would need to give us at least one genetically normal embryo would keep on increasing as a woman ages. And as I've mentioned earlier, there are a lot of ethnic differences, with studies showing that we Indian women have a lower AMH from the French population, the Spanish population, the European population, and in general, when we compare our AMH to the Caucasian population, it is much lower. So we say that if the AMH is perhaps less than 1.26 nanograms per ml, it is on the lower side, and we really, really need to do something if the value is less than 0.5. Also, another tool in which we can assess our ovarian reserve is the antral follicle count, wherein we just do an ultrasound and see a picture like this. Also, a very important concept is our menstrual cycle length. So if a patient comes to our OPD and tells us that, she's having her periods more frequently, earlier her cycle used to be every 30 days and now it is shortened to every 25 days or 22 days, it again could be an indicator that her ovarian reserve is going down. Now, why is it important that we talk about, understanding our ovarian reserve? Because if the woman has to, if she doesn't conceive naturally and has to end up undergoing an IVF cycle, then, her probability of conceiving genetically her own child is going to decrease as she crosses the age of 34, with a rapid decrease after the age of 40 years. But patients come in our OPD, and when I counsel them that, you need to fast forward things because, you're already touching the age of 40, and they come and tell us that, especially in our place, the Sidhu Moosewala, one of the very famous singers, whose mother conceived at the age of 60 years, says, she did it, and I've seen so many other people conceiving at the age of 40, and why are you telling me, doc, that, my chances of conceiving in an IVF cycle are on the lower side? Perhaps we need to understand that IVF could be of two types. It could be IVF with your gametes, which is a self cycle, or it could be IVF with a donor egg cycle. It's important to remember that when we are talking about IVF with donor egg cycles, the success rates are going to be same whether she is 30, 40 or 50. But according to our law, we cannot go beyond 50 years. But yes, the success rates are going to be same. However, when we talk about, undergoing IVF with your own eggs, the success rate dramatically decreases after the age of 35 to 36 years. And we want you to have your genetic offspring. And that is why perhaps the concept of egg freezing comes in, wherein we have a wonderful tool in our hands with which we can now pause our biological clock from ticking. Now, the concept of planned oocyte cryopreservation now is coming up in a big way because technology has improved. We freeze oocytes not by slow freezing, but by a technology called vitrification, wherein we have excellent results post-thaw. So is egg freezing just a celebrity trend, or is it a real medical option? Well, let's discuss it in detail. We've all heard about Diana Hayden, a former Miss World who conceived not one, but 3 children using her frozen eggs, which were frozen, in fact, 10 years back, and which gave her the freedom to, reach a peak in her career. Then Richa Chadha and Ali Fazal again welcomed their daughter. She had openly talked about her freezing her eggs and using them for the birth of her daughter. Priyanka Chopra, we all know her. Her mother was a gynecologist, so perhaps she gave her the right advice, and she froze her eggs in her early 30s, and she gave birth to the beautiful baby Malti using surrogacy. Mona Singh, we again know her. She has also talked openly about freezing her eggs, and sports personalities like Sania Mirza and Mithali Raj, they've all done it. Very interestingly, I'd like to mention here Tanisha Mukherjee. We all know her. She's Kajol's sister. She had stated that she wanted to freeze her eggs at the age of 33. She went ahead, talked to her gynecologist about it. And surprisingly, her gynecologist told her that, she could, there's no need to do the same. We have a concept of deemed couples, having kids is not, it's a very personal choice. So she said, you do not need to get into all this mess and, not a good option. And she regretted and said that, she again thought about it and went ahead with egg freezing, but not at the age of 33, but at the age of 39. And she had to undergo multiple cycles at this age because her egg reserve had really fallen down. So it's important that you take the right advice. Then it is not only our Indian population which is misinformed. This famous personality, Jennifer Aniston from the Friends, she stated that she could have given anything to anyone who would have told me that freeze your eggs and do yourself a favor. But she said that now at the age of 51, the ship has already sailed and she's trying really hard to get pregnant. But it's very, very difficult for her at this time. So yes, we understand that egg freezing has seen a demand across all cities. We understand that infertility is rising. And yes, we are seeing a trend of women who are coming in their 30s, for freezing with their eggs. But what is important is that we give them the right information and inform them that freezing eggs is just a kind of a fertility insurance. It is a backup plan that you have, like you have a car insurance, but it does not guarantee that, you are definitely going to conceive or you're going to have a live birth if, you've frozen these eggs. In fact, companies like Google and Facebook are actually covering the cost of elective egg freezing for their employees and, getting the best out of them. So who should consider egg freezing? Is it only for celebrities? Well, I feel that, women should be aware of it. Fertility awareness is a must, so that she can make best choice for herself. But definitely women who have a history of endometriosis, who've undergone surgery, especially if they're undergoing, they've developed recurrent endometriosis and are going to get operated, it is a must that they freeze their eggs. Then, if you've got your AMH tested and you realize that you have a low ovarian reserve and you're not contemplating on getting married soon or starting a family soon, you should definitely get your eggs frozen. If you are unfortunately diagnosed with some kind of cancer and you have to undergo gonadotoxic therapy, yes, you need to definitely think of egg freezing. And social freezing for women who want to delay pregnancy for various reasons, as we've discussed. And also, if there's a family history that your mother had an early menopause or your sister had an early menopause, or these could be other indications for getting your eggs frozen. So the best time is think about egg freezing before you actually realize that your egg numbers are low and you actually need it. So let's talk a bit about egg freezing. How is it done? How many cycles of egg freezing do you need? And how many eggs should ideally be frozen? Well, egg freezing is a wonderful tool that we have in our hand, but it entails, ovarian stimulation, which is done for around 10 to 12 days, and then undergoing an egg retrieval, which is done under anesthesia, and then you can freeze your eggs. Well, you can freeze your eggs for up to 10 years. That is what a national board says, but you can even do it longer, especially for our cancer patients with the permission of the national board. Now, how many oocytes should you preserve or how many cycles do we need would all depend on your age and your ovarian reserve. So maybe if you are younger, perhaps 10 to 12 oocytes would give you a live birth rate of around 70 to 80%. But if you're more than 40, perhaps you would need more than 25 eggs. And we know that at the age of 40, when our ovarian reserve is so low, we would need multiple cycles to get to this number. And so it is very important that we get our egg freezing done at the right age, which could be in your late 20s or in your early 30s, rather than thinking about it once you are crossing 40 or nearing 40, because with that the success rate perhaps could be lower and you could need multiple cycles to give you a realistic chance of having a live birth. But again, I would like to re-emphasize that getting your eggs frozen does not guarantee live birth, because it is not necessary that all those eggs are going to survive post-thaw and all of them are going to develop into good embryos, and you really don't know what are going to be the sperm parameters of your partner, in case you're just getting your eggs frozen. Also, it has been seen that reutilization rates worldwide, are just 10%, though, we need more data, which is slowly coming up, and perhaps we hope that this number is going to increase steadily. Now let's debust, some of the commonest myths that we have about egg freezing. One of it is, yes, egg freezing would guarantee a baby. So egg freezing just helps you preserve your future potential, as I've discussed, and it does not guarantee a baby. Also, a very important myth is that if you are having regular periods, it means that your fertility is normal. Well, having regular periods only emphasizes that you are ovulating and has no correlation with your fertility potential. Then another myth that is there is that you can freeze your eggs at any age. Age matters a lot. The younger you are, you would require lesser numbers and lesser cycles, and the outcomes would be much better because you have more quantity and a better quality. Now, IVF is always going to be successful if you've used your eggs. Well, not at all. As I've discussed, not all eggs are going to survive. thaw. But yes, nowadays with the coming up of vitrification, the survival rate is going to be 90 to 95%. But remember that all of them are not going to form day 5 embryos. You do not know how the sperm parameters would be, and that is going to be a huge deterrent. And then one cycle is enough for everyone. Well, probably, yes, if you are younger and you have a better ovarian reserve. But, if you're thinking of getting your eggs frozen once you are in your late 30s or early 40s, you would need multiple cycles. So in fact, I did a very, a poll a few days back trying to understand what people think about it, just to create awareness and, clear confusion and to empower women together. And, very, very interestingly, almost 86% of women thought that egg freezing would guarantee a pregnancy in the future, and also thought that if your periods were regular, you would not need egg freezing. And also, I would like to re-emphasize that egg freezing is no longer just for celebrities, but it is for women like you and me who need it, women who are career-oriented, women who have educational goals, who have not found the right partner, are planning to delay marriage, and, women with endometriosis and who have a family history of, early menopause. Perhaps they should definitely think of getting their eggs frozen. But remember, it is just an insurance and not a fertility guarantee. So yes, coming back to Indira Nooyi, she stated that biological clock and career clock are in complete conflict. We agree with her completely. But yes, we can pause our biological clock from ticking by taking out the batteries and by going ahead with egg freezing. Yeah, so the question is, while I have issues with my eggs, if my parents were first cousins or related to each other, should I do genetic carrier? Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have a history of consanguinity, you can get an expanded carrier screening and then go ahead with it. Thank you so much.